Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. A closer look at agriculture in South Carolina and conversations between current and future leaders of the Palmetto State's $51 billion industry. Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water is a production of the Aggie Media team at the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture. And now, your hosts, Garland Wilson and Mason Whittle.
Welcome to this edition of Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. My name is Garland Wilson, and today my co-host is Mason Whittle. Today, our guest is Dr. Larson, a UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine trained doctor and small animal general practitioner. Dr. Larson is passionate about soft tissue surgery and enjoys nothing more than spending the day in the operating room. Outside of the medical field, Dr. Larson is a Rotary Club member and an accomplished athlete, even competing in the Boston Marathon. Dr. Larson is special to John Delahowe because she will be the lead doctor at our future campus veterinary clinic. The clinic is not yet open for business, but it was the right time to get to know each other better. Thank you for visiting us with us today.
It's good to be here. Happy to talk to you guys about the vet clinic and hear more about the school too.
Let's pop it off with the first question. Horses were your first true love. What role did they play in your childhood and career path?
Well, I grew up on a small farm in Alaska, and I think my parents got horses when we were probably 3 and 4 years old. And so I've had horses all my life. And I think that I probably was that girl that was out there with horses more than I was doing anything else in my childhood. And jumping on them bareback in the pasture and riding around before I knew that you were supposed to put a bridle and saddle on.
So some kids always have known what they want to be when they grow up. Did you start like that when becoming a veterinarian, or did you just kind of jump into it?
I think I fell into it because we had a lot of animals on the farm with not just horses, but we had goats and rabbits and geese and ducks and chickens. And so we had a really good relationship with our local vets. They were out at the farm a lot, or we were in their office a lot, just taking care of our animals. And then just learning what I could do because we lived a ways out of town, so it was inconvenient to get into town for the vet, but also expensive for them to come out. So I learned to do a lot of stuff myself when I was a kid, and I think that fostered that.
Are there any other family members in your family who have decided to go the veterinary path, or what other paths have they gone?
So I only have one other sibling, my brother. He's a year older, and we were both in FFA in high school, and I went the veterinary route, and he went the horticulture route. So he has his master's in horticulture, and he went to Oregon State University. And so we got both sides covered. We got the plants and the animals when we come together.
So taking a different look, you've been an athlete for a good portion of your life. What would you say motivated your transition from competitive running to just running for enjoyment?
Well, I would say that I was a runner from probably, 5 years old. I have a picture of me winning my first race, and I ran cross country and track, and then I cross country skied in Alaska in the winter in the middle of the track and raced all through high school and a little bit of college. I think the time to continue to stay competitive, I just didn't have the time. And so I, given up your weekends to run races and stuff. But running has always been what centered me. I'm a morning person. I love getting up and going for a run in the morning. I went for a run this morning. Now I just do about 3 to 4 miles, and I don't care what my time is, but it's kind of that centering balance.
Do you feel that running helps relieve stress or any kind of mental health in your career?
I think definitely. Veterinary profession is a hard profession. There's a lot of emotional ups and downs, and so it's definitely a stress relief. When I was until I now have a little tiny dog. In college I had a dog that ran with me in vet school, and then for years after I had a German short hair pointer that always ran with me going out and just running in the morning. In California, near Davis, I ran around the ag fields, the tomatoes in the cornfields, just going out for a run. Definitely stress relief. And even now, it's that time to just let your brain kind of just settle a little bit and just put you in a good mood to start the day.
So kind of on the education side, what led you to choose UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine?
because it's the best vet school in the country. No, seriously, aside from that, it's an amazing school. I was very lucky to go there. It is not easy to get into any veterinary school. Competition is fierce. But I actually got into Davis because as an Alaska resident, it was one of the universities that Alaska had a relationship with, a lot of the vet schools on the west area. And so it was high on my list of colleges to go to. And I feel fortunate that I got in.
I know that some people get very queasy or feel a little uneasy about seeing blood and organs, but you do find a passion in surgeries, correct?
I love surgery, and I will say that, surgery when it's done right should not be very messy and bloody. That's the whole goal of doing it right is that you should be like preventing that bleeding and stuff. But it happens, and sometimes things are messy or wounds are dirty, and I think that for students it's really good to learn early on. If that's not something that you're comfortable with, then maybe go in a different route. But I think the fun about surgery is kind of like mechanics with you at the mechanics field, is that there's something about, fixing something or doing something that's very technical with my hands that I really like. So it's kind of the driving force.
So you feel strong about proper weight management in pets. What do pet owners most commonly overlook about this issue?
I think we focus a lot with humans on how being overweight really affects us as we age. It affects our joints. It affects our mental health. It affects our ability to get around and move. And then the same issues that come up with people, diabetes, heart disease, joint disease, animals have all those same things. And we have a lot of overweight dogs and cats that end up becoming diabetic or have liver disease. We're actually sadly seeing more obesity in horses. And because horses live so long, it's really hard on their joints and their health. And I think that what pet owners need to realize is most of the time they can't feed themselves. Their pets are relying on them, and so we're directly responsible, which means we can make a difference. We can change that and help their health.
Your professional biography had talked about teaching senior veterinary students. What did you most enjoy about teaching the next generation of students?
I think what's fun about students is that, when they're doing something that they're excited about, it's really fun to teach somebody when they want to learn it. It's really hard when, the students aren't really engaged because, you have to learn math. You have to learn some of this stuff to do it. But when they're excited about it, and because surgery is a very methodical thing, there's, kind of like baking and stuff, there's a recipe of steps to follow. Then, when you're teaching that, you're helping guide someone. But then sometimes, Mother Nature doesn't follow that recipe, and you find something where you have to think on your feet and be, the anatomy is a little different or the wound is a little bigger. And so there's a challenge to that. But at the end, you've actually done a task, completed something. So there's a sense of accomplishment with surgery that sometimes you don't get with medicine. In medicine, you can try to do all the treatments, but Mother Nature sometimes has a different plan, and things don't always get better. But with surgery, most of the time you have a task, and at the end of the day, you can say, I did that. And so I think it gives students confidence to be able to do a task and at the end, see a result that's really obvious.
So it says here you have a hobby in massage therapy. Veterinary and massage therapy are very different careers. So what inspired that shift?
So mental health definitely inspired that shift. Again, veterinary medicine is a hard practice. You're dealing with emotionally charged clients all the time. And I would say sometimes it's not very fun. Surgery's fun. You're in there, you're doing your thing. There's not, the people aren't in there. But when you're in a room with a client and they're upset about their pet, maybe they haven't taken the best care of their pet, but then they're kind of blaming you because their pet's not getting better. It's really hard to go home with that and know that I did everything I could, but the pet still didn't make it, and still be okay. And I think that you need to take care of your own mental health because clients are going to put that on you a lot. And so I probably about 10 years into my career, I was getting really stressed about dealing with people. And the people part of this is a big part of being a vet. And I had a really good massage therapist that was kind of, the tension in your neck and shoulders and stuff from just working. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep being a vet. I was looking at what else can I do. And so I, I love anatomy. I love sports and taking care of your body. And massage therapy is very much about that and your mental and physical health. And so I actually did night classes for a year and got certified. And then I split my time doing a couple days of massage therapy a week on people. And a lot of my friends and a lot of, people that I knew in my community that are also working in professions where they're under stress. I think massage therapy is a good balance for kind of keeping them going and also helping my friends as we age, continuing to be able to do the sports we want to do, taking care of our bodies. And so the type of massage therapy I practice very much about, the mental and physical well-being to keep moving as we age. So, yeah.
How was it balancing both of those careers at the same time?
I think one of those, I am definitely, massage therapy also like surgery is very much working with your hands and doing things, but it's moving slower and kind of having this intention that's very focused and calming. And so I think that the really high stress of the long days at the office, I probably worked like 3 to 4 10-hour shifts at veterinary. And then I'd have 2 days where I was just moving quiet and slow and kind of focused. I think it helped me balance that. I also had a lot of friends and people in the community that I knew both as a massage client and as their veterinarian. And so I think it really, it helped me connect with people a little bit in a different way.
Was there anything that you learned from massage therapy that you wish more people understood?
I think probably the biggest thing that I love about massage therapy is something that from being a vet is that anatomy always has a function. And if we can figure out what helps that muscle or that part of your body to function better, then we function better. And so I think that my love for kind of the anatomy and physiology of veterinary medicine is what probably makes me a better massage therapist, but also knowing that when you're standing over a surgery table and you're looking down or you're, working on a computer all day, one of my clients that was a dental hygienist, you're always in this contorted position, that does things to your anatomy. And that if you can kind of work on that and teach people to stretch and take better care, then they function better in their jobs. So I think that's something that I really, in working with people in that, I think balances a lot.
You do still perform small surgeries, correct?
Yes. So I work at Greenwood Humane Society right now doing spay neuters a couple days a month.
What keeps you passionate about this work in semi-retirement?
So one of the fun things now is that I don't have to deal with the public. I just get to do surgery, which I love. Spaying and neutering dogs and cats, we have an overpopulation problem. And so I think providing affordable spay neuter to the people in our community, especially in here in McCormick County, where we don't have a lot of resources. There's no veterinarians in McCormick County. There's nobody local to help provide these services. And so spay neuter surgery is something that I can easily do, and it's fun, but it's also, providing a huge need in the community, which is where, having something on campus where we're able to work with the public to do that is energizing. So, yeah.
So you've said that you enjoy local and international travel. What is the farthest place you've been?
Farthest from here probably is Australia. So that we went to a Rotary convention in Australia, and then we met up with some friends that had come to UC Davis to do some years at the vet school. He was doing a surgery fellowship. And so we went, and he was the veterinarian at the Sydney vet school for a while, the equine vet. So we went and stayed with him and got to go to the Sydney vet school and travel there. So that's probably the furthest we've been. This year was our 25th wedding anniversary, and we just got back from a trip from Egypt. So I got to ride a camel. That was super fun. So,
what was your favorite part about riding the camel?
I've ridden some, like gaited horses that rack, so you're that rocky motion. But camels also are like that, where I was just fascinated with how much they rock when you walk. And I was super surprised that none of the group of tourists that I was with that fell off. Because I'm sure it happens. Like you get up and everyone's trying to take pictures of each other, and the camel's just like this rocking ship. Yeah, they're fun. Camels are.
So, whenever our on-campus veterinary clinic does open, what exactly is going to be offered?
So we are going to be offering to kind of the general public of not just McCormick County, because Lincolnton and Abbeville and Greenwood all kind of are close to campus. So we're going to put out there that we're doing low-cost spay-neuter on dogs and cats, and then TNR, which is trap, neuter, release. So on feral cats that aren't necessarily people's pets, where they come in a trap and we send them back to where they came from. And so some of these will be owned animals, and some of them will be kind of feral populations of cat colonies. And then we'll be offering things like rabies vaccines, and then distemper parva vaccines for dogs, and FVRCP, leukemia vaccines for cats. And then possibly things like heartworm testing and some, basic clinic stuff. It won't be like a functioning hospital. It'll basically be a spay neuter clinic.
What's the kind of a cost way? Like, would you have to pay to bring your pet here, or would it be donation money?
So we would be letting people know when they call, and students will be making the phone calls. When clients call in to an answering machine, they'll leave a message saying they want to bring their pet in for something. A student will be coached with scripts to call them back. And then let's say that you have a cat that needs to be neutered. And so we'd say, okay, well, cat neuter is $20 and a rabies vaccine is $10. So it'd be about $30. And then we'll ask if that's something they can afford to pay. And if they say yes, then they pay the amount. If they say, well, I really can't afford it, but I really need my cat neutered, and we really want their cat neutered so we don't have more cats, then we would say, well, if there's any amount you can pay or donation you can make, then please do. But then, we'll be covering the cost with some of the fundraising that we're doing with the foundation and through some other donations that we get in the community. So the bottom line is we want these cats and dogs spayed and neutered in our community so we don't have an overpopulation problem. We want everything rabies vaccinated. Rabies is out there in our communities. I don't know if you see the stories about, the rabid skunk that someone tried to help because they found it and got bit. Rabies is deadly. And so if we can provide those services, we will figure out a way to get them paid for.
So whenever our clinic does open, what are the hours of operation like? Will it be open the whole week? Will it just be open a couple of days of the week?
So in the beginning, it's probably going to be open like 2 Wednesdays a month. And so we'll start slow until we build it up a little bit. And so it'll be open set hours for the general public needs to know if they're bringing an animal in, like 8 to 5. Usually it's like you bring them in between 8 and 9 to drop them off for surgery. And then you need to pick them up between 4 and 5 because we need time to do the surgery, time for them to recover, time for the students to write up their little report that goes home. The students will be involved in writing up their medical records, printing out their rabies certificates and stuff. So that'll all happen, but it'll be kind of that during that day. And then as we grow, then hopefully it'll be a weekly clinic.
So how would the trapping the animals and stuff go?
So, well, you guys might be aware that there's a lot of cats out on campus. There's a lot of cats out in downtown McCormick area. There's a couple colonies that have been semi-managed over time. And so we have traps that are humane traps where we put food in and the cat goes in and triggers it and a gate shuts. And then we have the cat in a trap. And so we will actually be figuring out where on campus these cats tend to eat. We'll ask people not to put food out, usually for a day or two before, and then students will go out, usually like around dinner time, and place the trap. And then usually we'll have the students check it before bedtime. And if the cat's in there, we'll bring it safely into the garage of the clinic. And if not, then they'll check it again first thing in the morning when they get up, so that we don't have cats that are in traps. If the weather's bad or they need to be sheltered, we'll have them moved into a sheltered place. And then after the cats are spayed and neutered, we tip their left ear. And that's so that we know if you catch a cat in a trap and it's already got its left ear tipped, you don't need to bring it to me. It's already spayed or neutered. And so you can just let it go. And unfortunately, then you need to try not to trap that cat again. So try to put the trap in a different place. But then, we'll keep an eye on cats around campus that aren't tipped in their ear. And that's how our volunteers that go around, like in McCormick and Abbeville and Greenwood, that's how they know in their colonies that they help manage these volunteers is they kind of try to set up so they're catching the cats that they haven't previously trapped. So those cats that come in either on campus or through the volunteers around the community, they kind of keep track of, where they're eating and where they're feeding, and we'll have, get the word out to the community that if you have several cats in a barn that need to be trapped, then we can try to get some volunteers to go out there and do that. And if it's something where the students can help to do that, they have transportation, we can help get students to go out and help trap off campus too. So as we grow that.
So I understand that the veterinary clinic is in our nurse's old house, Nurse Horn's old house. What kind of renovations are you doing to actually make it a vet clinic?
So there are a lot of rural veterinary clinics that actually get built into someone's house. I actually worked with one in Woodland where it was like an old historic Victorian house, and you walked in and, the living room got converted into the check-in area, which is very much what we've done with the house. When you walk in the front door, the room, right as you walk in is a reception area. And then what was the living room, they've taken out where the fireplace was, and there's nothing in that room. And then we're going to put 2 surgery tables in there. They've actually put like plastic sheeting on the walls, that kind of vinyl sheeting, so that we can wipe and clean the walls. And pretty much we just need to get the floors done. We gutted the kitchen, took out all the cabinets and stuff, and we just have shelving in there. And then we'll have like a big, work sink, kind of like a garage sink to be able to scrub and clean and stuff. And so yeah, it's going to look a little bit different, but it already has a washer and dryer in there, and it's got the garage space, and so yeah, we're converting one of the bathrooms into like a scrub area where we'll scrub for surgery with the sink and stuff in there, and that'll be where we have our prep stuff, and then one of the bedrooms is the prep area. Because we need like oxygen tanks and stuff, we actually will have large cylinder oxygen tanks in the surgery room, and they'll just hook up with hosing to go and kind of drop down where the machines are.
So, a question about what animals y'all can take. Are y'all like a mobile clinic, or is this just on campus? And
so it's going to be dogs and cats only for spay, neuter, and vaccination. It will be appointment only, so we'll have to have made an appointment. The students will help facilitate appointment scheduling, and then the night before, the students will be calling and confirming that they have an appointment. So we won't do walk-ups. They will have to have had an appointment. Even if it's just for vaccine, we'll have a slot, for animals that are just coming by that are already spayed and neutered but need a rabies vaccine. That'll all be scheduled. We don't have the capacity to see any of the food animals on campus, the cows and goats and that, and to see the general publics, for transporting cows and horses and goats on and off campus, there's a lot more involved with that for keeping our herds safe. And so those animals, for them to need veterinary care, they would have to go to one of the vets.
So as the FBLA chapter president here, how exactly is this going to function as a business on campus?
So, well, veterinary clinics often function with a very small margin, and that's one of those things, especially a spay neuter clinic where we're not bringing in big dollar surgeries and medical cases. And so actually we're going to see if the FBLA students can help us with our little budget. We need to make up a budget of how the clinic operates. We're going to have, the cost of supplies, the cost of what it actually costs to spay and neuter a dog or cat. It costs a little more to spay and neuter a 60-pound dog than to neuter a 8-pound cat. So the economics of that, a fair price to charge for the public, and then ordering supplies and stuff. And so you guys are going to help us with kind of those spreadsheets. We're going to need students to go through like our inventory ordering at the end of each week. When we operate and we use stuff, we need to know, do we need to order more gloves this week? Are we running out of suture material? And so the students will help us maintain inventory. And then, at the end of each month, we'll have a spreadsheet of, what did we spend? And then we need to know, like, when do we need to do more fundraising? When do we need to do stuff working with the foundation? But that'll be something the students will be involved with, a business plan to keep the clinic from, costing more money than it's.
What exactly would the students be able to do when they participate in the actual veterinary clinic?
So on the days where we are open, then the way a surgery day works is animals come in, they get checked in for surgery, and then we need to, get their weight and record and get the drugs ready for surgery, and then anesthetize them, prep them for surgery. someone needs to monitor while they're under anesthesia, well, I'll be doing the surgery, and then recover the animal, get them back into the cage, make up pain medications to go home, and then make up their records. And then cleaning the instruments and cleaning up all the surgery stuff for the day. So the students will be involved with getting, the client communication ahead of time, scheduling and that. They'll be involved with checking the patients in and then getting their weights, writing things down, I'll have sheets for anesthesia and stuff. So we'll need to calculate all the drugs for that, for each animal's body weight. And then they'll be helping prep them for surgery. They'll be helping with monitoring anesthesia and surgery and recovering the patients. So they'll learn a little bit about animal restraint for all the things that we're doing with that. And then the to-go-home instructions, making up their pain medications. We'll have a little pharmacy there. And so the students will be learning how to, put up the meds for that. Drug labels have very specific things they need to have on them to be put out to the public. So they'll be responsible for printing drug labels and filling those scripts. And then medical record keeping, which is a big part of, as a veterinarian, everything that goes in that medical record is, it's a legal document. And so there's certain things we have to have about what drugs were used, what surgery was done, what the clients need to know for home care. And so the students will be working on that too. And then at the end of the day, cleaning and caring for the instruments, cleaning and caring for the surgery equipment, all of that will be something the students will help with too. But then separate from the clinic, the students are also going to be help working with the public, getting the word out to the public. If we're going to do like a vaccine clinic, a rabies vaccine day that we might do like once or twice a year, but also just letting the public know that we have a clinic here for doing spay neuter. And so the students will be responsible for getting the word out about that too.
Well, that sounds like it's it for today's episode on Carolina's Field, Forest, and Water. Thank you to our guest, Dr. Larson. My name is Garland Wilson, and my co-host today is Mason Whittle. I hope to see you next time.